Orlando, Orlando, oh, oh, Orlando.
Skyline coming along very nicely.
That Baptist church resembles something very familiar. Hope lightning doesn't strike it.
Welcome everyone, Adam the Woo here. When you ask someone not from Florida what they think of when they hear the word Orlando, they usually think of one prominent thing. That's right, oranges. It's my second channel, daily vlog channel. It's TheDailyWoo.
Of course, the correct answer I was looking for is Walt Disney World. Been driving around downtown for no joke, probably about 45 minutes, looking for parking with no luck.
See there, guys, you just been hurt. All right, mommy done fell in love with that one. Yeah. Dad, you want to get in?
She keeps asking me to get a burger.
Okay, here we go, mommy.
Even though the Magic Kingdom is about 10 miles or so from downtown, there is a huge chunk of history right where I'm standing. About 6 years before the grand opening of Walt Disney World, Walt and Roy flew from California to here in Orlando and made the announcement inside this building, which used to be a hotel and is now apartments. The grounds had not even been broken yet. No buildings had been constructed, but right inside that hallway is where the announcement was made, the birth of Walt Disney World. I don't think anyone had any idea of the magnitude it would blossom into. Well, maybe a small inkling, because even the governor, he showed up.
I'd like for you to meet someone who's going to be a new neighbor of ours here in Florida, Mr. Walt Disney.
In fact, the state was so excited about this venture, they put a banner directly across this location saying, "Welcome, Walt Disney." They were not welcoming a theme park, they were welcoming the man. Walt Disney himself pulled up right here in his car and went in to make that announcement. It was called the Cherry Plaza, and there used to be an awning stating the name right there. In fact, his car pulled up right here, and there's a few key points that designate this location. The first being this street sign, which has been changed, but there was always a street sign there, and this fire hydrant over here on the corner. Of course, fire hydrants always stay basically in the same places that they were placed even decades later. All of these buildings have considerably changed. There used to be homes here, but he parked here, him and Roy. Once inside, it's very hard to designate exactly where they walked when they entered in. I'm thinking maybe right along here there used to be a glass walk entryway, and they would have opened the door and walked directly towards where I'm standing. And it's funny because on property there is a tiki bar. If Walt would have only known. In the tiki room. If you watch the footage closely, you'll notice they go into an elevator. I think this is that elevator that they walk into. Right there. It's where it all began, right inside that building. The first announcement to the world about the Florida project. There's a little flea market right next door as well. I would wager that very few people wandering through here know what they're standing next to. Yet most of them probably have annual passes to the parks. There are definitely a lot of birds out here. Mostly these swans, beautiful, beautiful swans. Less than 1 year after that announcement, Walt Disney passed away. His brother Roy, who handled the business side of it, the money side. Walt had the ideas and the creativity to make things happen. And a lot of people, including me, realize that that would not have come to the fruition that it has if it was not for his partner and his brother Roy. Instead of retiring after Walt passing away, Roy carried on to see the completion and the grand opening
of the Magic Kingdom.
There's some kiddie pools here sitting off the side of Interstate 4 behind that fence. Not really sure why, but there are.
There is another key spot in the birth of Walt Disney World, and it lies just as you're entering the property. Back in 1970, this was all a dirt road.
And in January of that year,
This building opened. The Walt Disney World Preview Center. And it stayed open until the day before Magic Kingdom opened its doors.
and this tree is raining down acorns upon my windshield. That's what that big thud sound was. Here is that original turn-in, the very first structure built anywhere on property. Now it's 4 lanes, and there are a plethora of hotels all along this road.
The purpose of the building was to give people in the area an idea of what the future held. And the building looks exactly the same.
Of course, now it is not previewing anything. It is owned by the Amateur Athletic Union. But decades ago, Pluto and Goofy stood right here, waving and welcoming everyone onto the new Disney property. The sign would have stood right there. And in the photo I found online, there were some very interesting circular, cylinder-esque items right here in the grass that are not there anymore. I wonder what those were used for. They've changed the front doors a little bit since back then. Now there's only 1 set of doors instead of 2. But the interesting thing is these handrails are the same handrails from 1970. And standing right here were the first ever WDW cast members. Think about that. The first cast members were standing right here on these stairs.
And you can faintly see a Mickey Mouse in there.
Look!
Just hanging out.
Getting ready to learn a little bit about this new Orlando, Florida theme park. Read about it in the newspaper. I wonder how this one's gonna do. You know what? It'll never take off. It'll never turn into anything worthwhile.
Sometimes I think Roy Disney does not get the praise and admiration that he deserves in comparison to his brother. Think about this for a second. An interesting fact is that Roy opened the Magic Kingdom and he dedicated the name of the theme park to Walt and called it Walt Disney World. Originally, it was just going to be called Disney World, just like in Anaheim, it's Disneyland. But he wanted to pay his respects to his brother. A couple weeks after the opening day, he dedicated Magic Kingdom and gave the dedication, kinda sorta opening day speech, even though it was delayed 2 to 3 weeks after October 1st, 1971. And after he gave this speech, after he put his heart and soul and his life and his non-retirement into completing him and his brother's dream, only a few weeks, less than 2 months after that opening day speech of the Florida project, Roy also passed away. And as cliche as it sounds, and sometimes kind of said in a comical fashion, Roy really had done his duty, and he went home and slept well. Very interesting little tidbit, a little twist when it comes to Walt Disney World history.
Walt Disney, who will bring a new world of entertainment, pleasure, and economic development to the state of Florida. Walt Disney. May I also introduce on my left the financial genius of Walt Disney Productions, its president, Mr. Roy Disney.
That's right. We hope we might bring some Californians over to Florida, you see, to see the new one in Florida.
But I predict that with the combination of the tourist center at Cape Kennedy And with this Disney attraction, it will experience at least a 50% and possibly a 100% increase in tourism in the state of Florida.